Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
Hello,
hey, guys.
everybody.
Hey, everyone. Have we all digested after Infinity War? We did an hour-long podcast last week. I just want you to recognize.
I appreciated the comments. I'm actually going back to see Infinity War tomorrow.
I'm going to go see it later this week as well.
I have a couple of extra tickets for my afternoon matinee tomorrow.
Where are you seeing it, the Dolby or the other one? Alamo, okay.
With Thing 1.
Maybe. Let me, yeah.
Well, this isn't going to go up.
This will go up tomorrow.
You don't know what tomorrow is.
It could be Sunday. It could have already happened.
We could have recorded this at any.
We could have recorded this last Friday.
Yeah, I'm going to be cognizant of that.
I realized last week that I said something that was dumb.
What was that?
I said that Marvel villains have traditionally been very bad, and I was correct up until like Thor Ragnarok, I think. Thor Ragnarok, Hela is a fantastic villain. Killmonger in Black Panther is an incredible villain.
Killmonger is insane.
And yeah, so
because
like
he's not really he's not the villain.
When I say Marvel villain, yeah, exactly.
Right?
When I say Marvel villains were bad, I was thinking Obadiah Stane and whatever the guy from Iron Man 2 was, and whoever the bad guy was in either of the Thor movies. I guess Loki was the first one.
Guy Pearce breathing fire.
Oh, right, Guy Pearce.
Oh, yeah.
I thought the real enemy of Iron Man 3 was Tony Stark, but what do I know?
So how you guys doing?
Good,
very good,
yeah.
Very good. I've been spacesuit obsessed. I know I am spacesuit obsessed, but I've been doing more like pulling out all of my different helmets and suits and pieces and bits and bobs and starting to like assemble.
Well, you're curating them. It seems like.
I'm a completist, so I'm starting to actually now look to have a representation of each aspect of America's spacesuit development.
Have you thought?
So you had Mercury.
Yeah.
You can go through you had Mercury. You had your first one that you built yourself. It's no longer in the corner anymore.
No.
Was that A7?
The A7L that was a wedding present from the Mythbusters crew is now on the set of Mythbusters Jr.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I
neat.
put it and a helmet up there on the set. I mean, we're not filming yet. We're in pre-production, but it's definitely a key part of the set.
That's awesome.
So those two suits and your interest in things like Gemini and even Shuttle, not as much. But now...
But now I'm still like I said, I never know where the inspiration is going to come. But now that I've obtained a Gemini suit there that's behind us, and I bought that. It's probably off camera, but there's a NASA EMU over there that I've been working on. It actually came from NASA. Not a real suit, but it was built for NASA's education department back in the late 80s, from the best I can determine. And I've been accuratizing it and altering it and having a lot of fun.
Well, and it's interesting because like, the two that you didn't have, the A7 and the Mercury suit, were fairly standard throughout the run of the program, but the Gemini suit evolved from the Mercury suit into what became the Apollo suit over the 5 years that Gemini 3 years that Gemini ran.
But the Geminis are still very they're almost featureless in a way compared to the Mercury and the Apollo era suits. And that's kind of, that's always been the thing that I found less fascinating about them. But now I've been starting to I'm reading through Dressing for Altitude, that wonderful book. It's a book that's super expensive if you buy a print copy, which I did a few years ago, but you can also download a PDF of the entire book. It's for free.
Oh, wow.
And it goes all the way from the very first pressure suits from high-flying pilots like Wiley Post, and the development of the David Clark Company and the U-2 suit and pressure suits. And it's fascinating because the problems they had in the beginning of developing all of this were the problems that they've had all the way through. Like they encountered the first problems they encountered, they still have.
Like hey, it inflates and you can't bend your elbows or your fingers. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, once you get beyond spacesuits, and I know next year is a big anniversary, of course, and the obsession may never end, do you expand into other types of pressure suits, whether it's high altitude for aerospace or underwater?
If I could obtain a David Clark yellow U2 high altitude suit, I would. That is one came up on eBay shortly after I flew in the U2, but it was incredibly expensive, as they should be. They're big, incredible pieces of equipment. And I couldn't afford to pull the trigger on it then.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you thought about buying actual, because all of yours are costume at this point.
All of mine are costumes. I have. I actually, auctions come up all the time for space artifacts. Big, full suit pieces are very rare, and they go for incredibly large prices.
I know that for a while, as the Soviet Union was collapsing, the Russian hardware was available at fire sale prices. But that was, I think, when I was in college for the most part.
I think a while back, a few years ago, you could still buy a Sokol Russian suit for about $20,000, but no longer.
Yeah.
They're going to be more like twice that.
Huh.
But
yeah.
Hope springs eternal, and yes, I may move to other pressure suits. I mean, to me, you're carrying around your own little atmosphere.
Well, you have had to, like, since we started working with you in 2012, like you've done 4 or 5 spacesuits, pretend movie spacesuits, right, and moving on to the real one seems like a natural progression to me. So it's not surprising.
I have this ultimate goal to like line up 20 spacesuits all in one room. And
You
get
gotta
to
be
see them
close.
all. Yeah, I'm not far off. I have and plus I've got a whole helmet collection in addition to the suits. I've got all these, like the Mark IV Navy suit that was what became the Mercury helmet. The Mark IV Navy high altitude helmet, which became the Mercury helmet. I don't have a whole suit.
No.
I would love an X-15 suit. If you've got one and you want to trade it to me for something, I am ready to bargain.
Hold on, is the X-15 suit the suit they used in the X-15, or is that the suit is that the name of the suit that the Navy used for high altitude jets?
I don't know the difference.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
This stuff some of it has to be sold back to public for the NASA stuff after a certain time, right? The hardware.
I don't know.
If they don't use it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you're saying we could buy a space shuttle orbiter if we have enough cash?
I don't think you can.
Probably not. Might be frowned upon. Hey, speaking of space, Norm,
Yes.
you did some space stuff. This
we
weekend.
did.
To witness.
Well, what's present
You were
for?
present for.
Oh
Right.
no!
I was down in the Central Coast of California. Shout out to iFixit, who's in San Luis Obispo,
SLO.
and even our buddy who we built the Millennium Falcon with was actually from that town. But Vandenberg Air Force Base is there, and that's where NASA and United Launch Alliance launched the InSight, which is the latest Mars lander. It's the last
Mars. It's an earthquake detector among
it's
other,
a seismic.
tasks.
Yeah,
Seismic.
it's seismic detector. It's basically a space like geophysicist robot. So whereas Curiosity has wheels and roves around and takes pictures, this one has cameras as well. But this one has 2 important goals. It's basically to understand mini earthquakes, the composition of Mars by digging down into it and detecting seismic activity.
Like, how far are we talking about digging? Are we going to go center of the planet, or
16 feet.
Okay,
which is
pretty
a
good.
record.
That's pretty good.
That's a record.
That's a substantial, because like previously we mostly just scrape on the surface and drill down a little bit. Right?
It's I love the high-low aspect of this, because what they're doing to like send something to Mars to drill 16 feet into the surface is a gargantuan engineering feat, and yet you could also phrase it like, we're going to drill no farther into Mars than your high school bedroom.
Yeah,
than the width of your high school bedroom.
Look,
wait, I might even be wrong. I might be 16 inches. I had not a lot of sleep these past couple days.
I hear dozens of
people are
tested
screaming at their
listeners
radios,
yelling at their device.
It's not to the center. It's not to the core.
Okay,
we'll call it that.
They're just scratching the surface.
Yes.
So what you're saying is
the Rock is going to star in the movie about this.
It's an amount that either one of us could dig in 2 shovel scoops, or maybe a really hard work, maybe 2 hard work days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's the width of your dining room.
Or you have a bigger dining room than me.
I'm trying not to be classist about it, Will.
It's the length of your car.
It's the length of your car.
There you go.
Yes, if you have a relatively short car.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was out of a military
down
base.
there to see you. This is a launch.
This is a launch.
This is the first time you've seen.
This is the first time I've seen
or been present for a rocket launch.
Yes, absolutely.
So explain what happened.
So and it's a notable launch because this is the first time there's been a interplanetary launch on the West Coast. So Vandenberg and
how come that was?
Because it's easier out on the East Coast in Florida, the way you fly into the orbit. Right, you get the it's
lower latitude makes it less acceleration.
Well, it's closer to the equator.
Yeah,
and also the direction in which the planet's spinning, you get advantages for speed for that.
Well,
so you're flying toward the ocean, basically.
Yeah.
Here
you have to fly out west over the.
They flew a little bit out west and then mostly south, and then.
Okay.
It's their rocket was powerful enough, so they didn't need to.
What did they use?
An Atlas V.
Okay.
So an old, basically ICBM design. They've flown dozens of these, hundreds of them, 100 and something of them, and very reliable. And this is a Mars opportunity happens every 26 months. and they
the
have a
conjunction
1 month
or whatever,
window
yeah.
exactly. And this was
Sounds like a romantic comedy. The Mars Opportunity.
once every 26 months. It's like
Kate
the
Hudson
lake
has
house.
only
Kate Hudson and Donald Glover.
8
as-
days before the
yeah.
window closes.
and then 26 months later. And then this was an opportunity that was scrubbed in 2016.
Oh, so they missed it.
They missed it because of equipment. They needed to retest the equipment.
And was
So-
that because ULA
Yeah.
had some failures and their rockets have been offline for a while, so that's why they're using the Atlas V, or is that
No, the Atlas
just
5 is Atlas 5 is the
Oh, is
ULA
there? Okay.
rocket. Yeah, it's a junction between Lockheed and Boeing. But it's a 200 feet tall rocket that we got to go very close to during the daytime.
Super
Cool.
So it's maybe like 200 meters away from,
Football
and
fields.
Or it could be 2 meters. We're not sure. 'cause it's Norm.
Actually, it was
scale-wise.
18 inches.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
16
Yeah,
inches.
it was that big.
He's wearing big glasses.
Yeah.
And we got to see the tower rollbacks. You see those time lapses
Yeah.
of the building around the rocket that gets slowly pushed back to reveal the rocket.
It moves slow because it's a building.
It's a building,
Yeah.
exactly. They're literally moving a building. The gantry's there with all the fuel and the wires, and then you can see them positioning the spotlights.
Oh,
So just like a movie,
nice.
right? While there's like fog coming in, so it's
Yeah.
very, very dramatic.
What time
Fog
of day
coming
was the
in, huh?
launch?
It was 4 a.m.
Oh boy.
So
man.
they did tower rollback at 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m., and then they filled it up, and we got out there at 2 a.m. in the cold and the fog, and we
So what'd you
saw
see?
nothing.
No.
Oh no.
We saw nothing.
No.
Did it like
I
get
don't
light
mean
or
to laugh,
anything?
but shit,
No,
that's
well,
funny.
we heard the countdown. So like people are like, oh, you're there. You must get a sense of anticipation. And yes, everyone was waiting there with their gear, and the military is running it. It's on their base, and you hear a little bit of their comms. We're checking Twitter like everyone else. We're like checking Twitter, checking the website for the updates, because we have no tapping into. We can't tap into the comms.
No.
So we're like, okay, Twitter says it's on track. They had low visibility. That's fine. And then the count, once it was a 4:05 start, and then they were right on time. The countdown, then a 15-minute planned break, then the minute countdown. Everyone's quietly, all the lights turn off, and then all the spotlights turn down, and everyone's quietly counting down, and then it launched, and we were about 4 miles away, and we saw nothing.
No light?
We saw nothing. It wasn't until maybe 10 seconds later,
California coastal
that
fog.
we heard it.
Yeah, that is some pea soup.
And then it got louder and louder, and it was rumbling,
Yeah.
and a little
Yeah.
bit of pops, and then the sky turned a little bit red, like the color got just a little bit red.
So just to be clear, this is the same place that they launched from a few months ago, and it went out kind of over LA, and people like were swerving
Everyone
their
lost
cars
their
off their
minds.
freeway and thought there was a UFO. It was Independence Day.
If you were 400 feet higher than where we were, maybe in the mountains,
Take a drone?
then you can. Yeah, I gotta fly a drone there.
Frowned upon. Okay.
You would see it. There's a
Okay.
great Instagram video of
They
someone
shot his
on an
Mavic out of the
airplane.
sky.
Yeah, right. You could shut down the whole launch. There's someone in a Cessna, I think, who saw it above the clouds, emerging from the clouds, and that looks.
That seems like that would be really cool.
Yeah. So that's on Instagram. I'll put a link in the comments below. But it was still exciting. Like even though we didn't visually see it,
Yeah.
one of the reporters there, who's a geophysicist, she's like, it's kind of like what the rover's doing. You can't visually confirm these things. You have to detect them by inferring, by like the sound and the feel of the shock waves, and so that was almost very appropriate.
Wow.
I still wish we would have saw it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it seems like it would be better to see it.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So this is
At least
hopefully
mildly
good.
interesting.
Good relationship building experience with NASA.
Okay.
They were all great, very professional about it. And the next launch is the next rover in 2020.
Oh,
Mars
out of
2020.
Vandenberg?
Dude, I'm still there.
That's the next 26-month window.
Did you?
Yeah. I don't know if that's
they're
Vandenberg.
going to do more launch. Yeah, they'll probably do that. Yeah,
That might be East Coast.
Did
a
you
heavier
make
payload.
any videos while you were there?
We did. So those will hopefully be on the site in next week or so.
I found a local macrame artist.
Okay, sounds
We
good.
did do the local, like there was some downtime, so we drove around the local town trying to see if they had
Go see Kyle.
space murals. No, didn't
okay.
get to drive that far up.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was awesome. It was a great experience.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was the first big rocket launch of any kind, and while everyone there, it's funny because they tell you, the weather officer on the military base says we have a 20% chance of visibility, which is not good, and everyone's freaking out like, are they going to scrub it? Are they going to scrub it? Why, my hotel's only booked till tomorrow. Do I need to extend the, how long can I stay? Because they have a month-long window.
Yeah.
But all that means is that of the many checks and redundancies that they have, seeing it as a safety is probably not possible, but everything was 98% optimal. So everyone still had their gear set up. Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gear, long lenses, everyone with tripods, media, local media, national media, all set up on this gravel ridge, essentially. And we all saw the same thing. We were waiting there for like an hour and a half, and it was me, Ariel Waldman, and my buddy Trace from Seeker, and we're just like, we're an hour. It's really cold. We bought some beef jerky. Let's just put everything that we have with a camera that can take a picture video on a tripod, and it's gaff tape. So we had 14 cameras set up, and our cheapest iPhone and GoPro took the exact same imagery as the $50,000 camera next to us, which was blackness.
I was going to say there was a really good article on, I think it was on Tested. It was one of Terry's articles the other day about the one of the guys who's a rocket photographer and based out of Florida. It seemed like mostly.
Yep.
And it was absolutely fascinating. I wish I should have looked up. To see what his name was.
There's some people there who like if you live in that area, whether it's Southern California or Central Coast, take advantage of it, because NASA, if you work for your school newspaper or something. I met a 15-year-old, and this was his like 5th rocket launch that he got to be a professional photographer for.
Even like they have a program where people who have like social media accounts that are they're not looking for people with 100,000 followers. They're looking for people who are active and interesting, tweet about space a lot. And like
great.
they'll give you VIP passes to the launches in Florida or Vandenberg or wherever it happens to be.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Highly recommended.
I want to try. I have not yet been to a large rocket launch.
I see.
I was
Well,
sad not to be able to
2020.
make it to this one, and so 2020 is definitely.
I think that's the one.
Well,
There's also SpaceX launches all the time.
I was going to say, like, you can go to
out of the
Florida
same area.
any 2 weeks and see a SpaceX launch. It seems like right now at the pace they're going.
I'd like to go back to New Zealand and see Peter Beck launch one of his little
Steam. He does
No,
steam.
he does real rockets. But
okay.
the engines, they're electrically powered, liquid oxygen pumped engines, and they're 3D printed in a day.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and he's got more launch capacity off of the eastern coast of New Zealand than the entire United States. He could.
Of course,
it was controversial.
It was.
Yeah.
We got to see a talk that he gave at the Mars conference.
Oh,
That
cool.
was pretty remarkable.
I've seen a couple of small like LEO spy satellite type launches off of the Florida coast when I was a kid, and even those like are nothing compared to an Atlas V or the Falcon, or even the Falcon Heavy, much less the Falcon.
I wish I saw a shuttle.
I regret, like, I had the opportunity to go to that last shuttle launch, and we just weren't
Jamie
able to
and I
do
were
it.
invited to at least 3 shuttle launches, and
Yeah.
we couldn't to any of it because we were in constant production.
Well, and the problem we had was I either worked at a magazine or worked here, and like I couldn't take a 3-day trip or a 7-day trip.
Right.
Like it had to be the one or the other.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was
And you know, as always, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You are there to hopefully be on, to not have a scrub, not have any delays. People drove out. Like when we were being driven bused to inside the base from the parking lot, there were lines of cars off the side of the freeway, people camping out.
Wow. Yeah.
And we all saw nothing.
Well, I mean, at least you were there. You may
Yeah.
have seen nothing, but at
Right.
least you were there for it.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Still cool.
I'd like to talk about a couple of other pieces of media that
Yeah,
happened this
okay.
week. My wife and I have been very much enjoying a BBC show called Killing Eve with Sandra Oh from Grey's Anatomy and
Yeah.
Sideways. Amazing and wonderful actress, and she is still amazing and wonderful in this. And it is about an MI6 agent chasing down a serial killer who is also a psychopath or a sociopath. And the actress, everyone in it's great. The actress that plays the assassin is
The serial killer?
The serial killer? Oh, it's
sorry,
a female
she's
serial
an
killer?
She's an assassin.
Oh, okay.
So she serially kills people, but it's for money. So I guess you don't call her a serial
She's
killer.
not a
Assassin,
psychopath.
okay.
She really likes her work.
She likes
so-
murdering for fun.
She digs her job. So I consider her a serial killer in my head. The actress that plays that character is kind of mind-blowingly great.
Wow.
And I know that the king of all current media, Donald Glover, hosted and was the musical guest on SNL this week, and I haven't yet watched that.
I haven't watched it. Gina watched it last night. She said it was very good.
But he also, because he's Donald Glover, dropped a music video that night called "This Is America," which I did watch, which is searingly great.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of jaw-dropping.
It's the kind of thing you watch and you turn around and you watch it again and you turn around and watch it again. And you're like, I think I like. I feel this makes me feel ways that I didn't expect music videos to make me feel.
He is, yeah. He's commenting into culture like a lightning bolt, is what it felt like. And I'm watching him shirtless, playing with his charisma and his acting and his comedy and all of these things coming out. I mean, look, we are ill-equipped to discuss this in this podcast right now, but I watched it twice in a row and it blew my freaking mind.
Well, the thing I found is that I was so distracted by watching him dance that I kind of wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the background. And then I went back and watched what was going on in the background. I was like, oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Single-handedly saving the Solo movie.
Yeah.
Or making it interesting.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that is in a couple weeks.
I watched the Lost in Space reboot on Netflix.
How is that?
It's really, really gorgeous.
I love the spacesuits.
The spacesuits are incredible.
They're beautiful.
The effects work is really good. The robot is amazing. Like they did an incredible job with the robot.
That's an alien?
I don't want to. It's from the first episode. It's kind of not a spoiler, but like I like. Here's the thing: the science is just blisteringly dumb. Like they get it. Like it's the kind of blisteringly dumb that's really frustrating. It's not like smart blisteringly dumb like The Core, which like that movie is intentional in its Hilary Swank and yeah, I mean, I like The Core. Just to be clear, I really like The Core.
Glover?
Maybe Crispin Glover. It's no.
It's what are you talking about, Will?
Who plays the old guy? Who plays the Anyway, it like they knew exactly what they were.
How did you bring it back to The Core?
Look, the core is always right in the front of my head.
Lost in Space. Back
it
to
has
Lost in Space.
unobtainium.
So awesome.
So the robot is great. The science is really dumb. I haven't watched enough of it to know if it's intentionally dumb or just bad. I usually don't care about the science in science fiction, but like they go just far enough that you're like, man, somebody took care to learn about the super cooling of water, and then they just missed it by that much, right?
Yeah, that'll get me.
Yeah, like that. It's like if they just were dumb about it, I'd be fine. But you know, yeah. Anyway, it seems good. Like they set up a family. There's interesting dynamics in the family. Parker Posey is playing Dr. Smith,
which is brilliant casting.
Yeah, like I my general rule is I'll watch anything with Parker Posey.
Yep.
So here we are.
No, she's amazing. From Party Girl on down, she's a genius.
Yeah, really good.
What else is going on, Norm?
I have a recommendation. I know Netflix has a lot of stuff, but I've been like kind of perusing through different subscription services. You can't get them all. I'm like, I'm only going to subscribe to like 4 of them, right? And
this is
And one new one that I've been trying out is it's called Filmstruck, and it's the Criterion Collection plus I think TCM, but it's like
nice.
It's the only place I can find 40s
so
movies from the 40s
and
or movies from the 30s and movies that are in the Criterion Collection.
Did you see someone on Reddit posted recently, or maybe it was Twitter, that they said that the Amazon's movie collection looks like they're perusing a random garage sale of VHS tapes?
Amazon has a lot of movies right now that are very similar to mainstream big budget releases that maybe have 1 or 2 letters different in the title. They have a lot of good TV. Amazon.
Do they have the Turkish Star Wars movie?
No, I wish. I would pay money for that. They do have a thing called Minuscule, which I hadn't seen. It's an animated kids movie. Yeah. They did real world backgrounds and then did CGI bugs. And I think Richard Dreyfuss did the voices for the bugs, but they're not. They're just making squeaky noises. They're not. They're not making. There's no dialogue in the movie that I've seen.
Right.
And it's fabulous. It's a French.
Can I just be clear? Richard Dreyfuss hasn't been accused of molesting anyone recently.
Who can say, really?
No, I think I was thinking of Dustin Hoffman.
I think Dustin Hoffman had problems.
I think Dreyfuss is clean.
I don't know about
There's no Dreyfuss affair yet.
Thank
you, everybody.
Let's just cut this whole part and move on.
Roll with it.
No, it's the movie's really charming and the animation's amazing.
And it's called
Minuscule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then one thing I also wanted to talk about, stuff that you can find on Tested, is we just released the first episode of a little mini-series we did, which is a project that we brought back from 2016.
Oh my God, yes.
We filmed in 2016, and we maybe alluded to this. You were Were you part of? You were still tested? Well, were you
No,
this? Oh
I
no,
was gone.
you
I left
had
in
just
2015.
left.
You
Yeah,
just left. You were
you
sad.
had
that
just
you
left.
weren't- Yeah.
Is this
Yeah.
when you went to New Zealand and did something amazing and then I didn't get to go? Or Australia?
or the second
this
time?
was-
No,
that was-
no,
Or
neither
the second
time.
time,
That was
yeah.
another awesome
Or the
thing
time
you
you went
did
to
without me.
Budapest and saw the Blade Runner being shot.
Yeah,
no.
that was another time.
Or
This is local.
the time you went
Local.
to the UK and made a suit of armor. Yeah, I mean, but it was really cool that we got to go to Portland a couple of times to test it when I was here. Thanks,
got
guys.
to go take David Chang to the worst
To
taco
the
he's
worst
ever
restaurant
had.
he'd ever been to. Yeah. He liked the decor, though. So, yeah,
We
I'll
found
put that
those
in the Yelp
compliments.
review.
So this was in collaboration with the local California Academy of Sciences, and this is related to octopi or octopuses.
Octopuses.
And you got to meet a giant Pacific octopus.
Hold on.
In the course of shooting this, I met two of them.
What does meet an octopus? How does one meet
you
an
actually,
octopus?
When they have octopuses in captivity there, Rich Ross, the head cephalopod expert at the Academy of Sciences, they work very hard to acclimatize them to people so that the octopus lives a good life, but also the people that come to the aquarium can get to see it. So they work hard to let it be comfortable and let it be an extroverted cephalopod.
Because normally they're like their life goal is to hide under a rock at the bottom of the ocean
until there's food.
Yeah.
Squeeze through every hole and
Yeah.
find food. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to be part of the acclimatization of this octopus and feed it and like wrap around my hand. It was.
We'll set up for you. Like we got to go behind the doors, right, of the academy where it's research labs, and we walk in this tank. I think put on like little booties over our feet. It looked like a giant tank. It was maybe the diameter of this table almost, and then it came up, and you put your hand there, and it wrapped its arms around you.
It's like, what is this?
I'm. This is fascinating to me.
It's mind blowing because there's a real intelligence there. It's looking at you. It's literally doing this, like.
Well, it only has
right?
one eye, right? Or no, that's
it's
squids.
two eyes.
Two eyes. Okay.
But I mean, it's looking at you, and then it's like testing you, and you play with it, and you give it some food, and like it's a genuine mind you're dealing with. I find it really fascinating. Plus, it is a physical structure that you've never felt, which is like the strongest muscle that becomes like Jello if it releases that muscle. It's
And if
they
it doesn't,
can fit
you
their
just
whole
get to
body
stay
through
there.
anything they can fit their beak through.
Wow.
So they're incredibly plastic, and I've now gotten to feed and enjoy the company of. Maybe that's not the best way to put it.
No, that sounds dirty.
4 or 5 giant Pacific octopuses at this point,
So-
and it's never not a remarkable experience. And I was reading this fascinating book as part of this called Other Minds about octopus cognition because. Just as a point of example, if you take a human and a bird, we have a common branch on the evolutionary tree. Well, our branch with the octopus is like another 150 million years or 200 million years earlier than ours with birds. But cognition rose separately through these two branches, right? The sentience of the alleged sentience. So it's a fascinating thing to interact with these beings. They're just so alien.
Well, I mean, years ago, I read watched a documentary, read a article one after the other. I can't remember which way it was about octopus problem solving and like how fiendishly difficult it is to keep octopuses in captivity because they are escape artists. Yeah. And how that led down this whole path of research into their intelligence and the conclusion of, I think the documentary was like, look, octopus is probably smarter than pigs, right? Like if you're looking at in the mammal scale, there's somewhere between like dogs and pigs, maybe beyond pigs even. And I stopped eating them after that. I was
that's
like,
the
this
genesis.
is kind of uncomfortable for
I
me.
can't eat octopuses or mostly squid either.
I eat squid. Squid are assholes.
This is true.
They're the geese
jerks.
of the cephalopod world.
But the genesis of it was that research that octopuses not only are intelligent but need to be intellectually stimulated
to enjoy to otherwise they get bored and they don't live as long and they live less quality lives.
So what do you do? Give them toys?
Well, I asked if I could help design a toy
What?
for one of their octopuses, and they said yes. And I actually built a puzzle box for one
For cephalopods.
for a cephalopod.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really, really, really.
Do you have one here?
I do. I'll show it to you after the podcast.
Oh, I want to see.
You got to watch the series.
Am I smarter than an octopus?
Yeah. I think you could
Yes,
probably solve
is
this.
the
Find out. Find out next time.
If you can't resist shrimp, I believe you'll solve this puzzle quickly.
Cool. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm glad it's finally going up. I also loved, just a brief shout out to Rich Ross, who's the cephalopod expert at the Academy of Sciences. He does not have a degree in biology.
Really?
No. He's, in fact, when I met him the first time, he said, "Hey, Penn Jillette says hello." And I was like, "Cool. How do you know Penn Jillette?" And he said, "He used to be a professional juggler.
Octopuses love magic. Who knew?
He used to live in Vegas and be a professional juggler."
Wow.
And Penn Jillette got his start as a juggler, as some people know. And I said, "Okay, then walk me from professional juggler in Las Vegas, hanging out with Penn and Teller, to being the cephalopod expert at the Academy of Sciences." And he said, he raised a lot of them in captivity and gained an expertise that few people in the world had in dealing with cephalopods in captivity.
That's amazing.
And
Yeah.
to me, that is such a terrific story about that scientific expertise can come from anywhere. It comes most frequently from academia, but it can find other routes to important places in the world.
I mean, that's a
Love
whole other
highlighting those
podcast.
stories. Yeah.
We could do a whole other podcast series. It's conversations with people who ended up not doing the thing they intended, and because it's that misconception that you need to have a credentialed background to do the thing
Yeah.
you do.
And the answer is
And
you usually do, but
Sometimes it helps.
yeah.
I mean,
You'd be
look,
surprised how many people.
I operate on people all the time. It's frowned upon, but yeah.
Anything else on the site that you want to let people know about?
I'm hoping to have those NASA videos up this week, so stay
Cool.
tuned for those. And remind people that next weekend is Maker Faire, not this coming
Yes!
weekend, May 19th, Bay Area Maker Faire, World Maker Faire,
Yep.
and it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I think Friday's not open to the public.
So
necessarily.
Saturday and Sunday, we're gonna be there. Adam's gonna be there on Sunday,
I'll be there on
I'll
Sunday.
be there all 3 days.
so we'll hope
Awesome.
to see you there.
Yes.
And also, 2 tips for Maker Faire. If you're going for the first time, park offsite. Like look on their website beforehand. There's all sorts of offsite parking locations where you're coming down 101, 280, or from the south, wherever you would come there. They have buses that run constantly. It's very humane. It's
This
a much
is-
better way to get there than to try to park on location.
There's over 100,000 people are attending.
It's a
and,
madness.
And they have thought through this problem. If you go without doing any research, you're actually contributing to the problem. But if you do just a little research, it's going to be so much smoother for you, and it's not going to be nearly the traffic nightmare that it can often be.
And it's not like you're trapped. The buses run constantly throughout the day.
Yeah.
It takes literally 15 minutes to get back versus sitting in traffic for 45 minutes or an hour.
That's the split. You're absolutely right.
And the other thing is make sure you bring comfortable walking shoes because you'll do a lot of walking, and a hat because it's usually pretty sunny or freezing cold, one or the other.
And yeah, any of you out there have spacesuits you want to trade or sell? I'm in the market. I
Yeah,
can't
you're
stop.
looking for,
I can't stop collecting spacesuits.
Yeah, flight worn anything basically.
Yeah,
and then,
dirty
yeah.
rental suits.
Okay.
Yeah. I just bought some crappy Amazon like costume suits just to complete. I'm a completist, man. I can't stop.
So we also a few months ago recorded a episode of the Foo Show.
Yes, in
which-
VR.
In VR. So we made virtual Adam, virtual Norm. It's not like this, but it is. The environment is analogous to this, I would say.
Yeah.
And we talk about some of your favorite props. So we talk about the A7. We talk about the
Runner gun.
Blade Runner gun, Maltese Falcon, the Bourne stunt pistol that you have, Akbar. Frank's Lego creepy nightmare Lego head, and a bunch of other stuff. Captain America shield, some stuff that you bought, some stuff you made, some stuff that you've collected. That'll be out on Monday, Monday of next week, not this Monday, but Monday a week from now.
All right. We'll have
and you can find it on
info.
Steam. Yeah,
Yep.
we'll put it on this. I gave you a code so you can check it out, Norm.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool. Okay.
All right. Thanks,
Great.
guys.
Thanks for
everybody.
listening.
See you all
We'll
next week.
time.
Bye.
Jinx. This week's episode of Still Untitled is brought to you by Udemy, the largest marketplace for online learning. Want to expand your potential? With over 65,000 courses starting at just $11.99, Udemy can help you develop your skills and develop your new passions. Students around the world have used Udemy to get ahead and even switch careers. Visit ude.my/untitled or download the Udemy app to learn anytime, anywhere. We'll see you next week.